Doctors of Reddit. What was the wildest self-diagnoses a patient was actually right about? Patient here. Told my family GP, who I'd seen since I was a kid, and who worked with and saw both my parents as patients for years, that I thought I had reactive hypoglycemia. He scoffed. You don't have that. Why would you think you have that? He said. I told him my symptoms. He was doubtful, but told the nurse to get me a Coke and made me chug it. Sent me to roam around the hospital for a little bit, then get blood work and come back. I came back, and his first words were, "This is so aggravating." I replied, "Does that mean I have it?" "Yes, that means you have it." One of my dearest friends from middle school was suffering from absolutely devastating medical issues. She went from bright and thriving in university to having to drop out before she graduated because her health bottomed out. She lost her job that paid her a fantastic amount. Basically, her entire life fell apart. She was telling me about the new weird thing happening with her. Some strange anemia that was found to be the result of abnormally low ferritin in her blood, which is what enables your red blood cells to carry iron. That was when something clicked in my brain. Horrible digestive issues, peculiar anemia, chronic infections in her spleen that required a splenectomy, would sunburn to a blistering point in less than a half hour, a diagnosed allergy to sulfa drugs, horrible reactions to carbamazepine. Retinol gave her a suppurating skin rash. I'm a pre-med dropout, and one of the first classes I took on my path to pre-med was an undergrad course in rare conditions and diseases. And one of the ones we discussed in our inherited disorders segment of class was porphyria. There's an easy way to tell if someone has porphyria. Have them pee into a clear plastic or glass cup and expose it to direct sunlight. In a period of hours to days, the urine of people with porphyria will turn from clear or yellow to a wine red or wine purple. So I asked her if she trusted me enough to do something weird, told her to get a clear plastic disposable cup from her kitchen, pee in it, and put it in her windowsill where nobody could see it. And if anything about it changed, come tell me. Approximately 4 hours later, she called me on the phone screaming that her piss turned freaking purple red like a damn vampire, and I told her she needed to go to the doctor and get tested for porphyria. 2 weeks later, she tagged me on Facebook calling me lesbian Dr. House because she was diagnosed with congenital erythropoietic porphyria. I see you, Doc, here with over 10 years of experience. While it's not quite a diagnosis, experience has taught me to take very seriously when a patient states he's about to die, even if he appears in a stable or controlled condition. Patients who have a life-threatening condition usually have a premonition about their imminent decompensation, which is usually preceded by very subtle signs of worsening that may be confounded with pretty much anything that happens on a resuscitation room or on the back of an ambulance. I've had patients who appeared to be in a completely stable condition, with acute conditions where cardiac arrest was not foreseeable. For example, motorcycle accident with single limb injury, who briefly mentioned they think they are about to die before suddenly entering in cardiac arrest due to a malignant arrhythmia. It's believed that patients may perceive a sudden drop of blood pressure or the usual release and spike of adrenaline and other catecholamines as imminent death, but the reason why this happens is not clear. Some we are able to return, others we lose, or quote-unquote, recover them to a state where death would be better. I'm not a doctor, but this is what happened when my son self-diagnosed correctly. 3 years ago, he developed a terrible earache and went to urgent care, where they told him he had an ear infection and gave him an antibiotic. The pain intensified over the next day or so, so he returned and was told he should make an appointment with an ENT, but because it was the weekend, no ENT offices were open, so he had to wait until Monday. In the meantime, his ear started draining and he saw what looked like spores in the fluid, which would indicate a fungal infection. He's a naturalist and knows what spores look like. The pain grew so intense that he ended up going to the ER. He told the doctor who examined him that he had seen spores in the drainage from his ear and suspected that he had a fungal infection. He later heard the doctor talking to a nurse in the hallway, laughing and saying he thinks he saw spores. The doctor prescribed another antibiotic and a steroid. The next day, he flew home to see us for Thanksgiving. I don't know how he managed the flight, because as soon as he got here, he curled up on the floor, howling in pain. I immediately called ENT offices all over town, but most were closed for Thanksgiving week or said they could not see him. Finally, one scheduler took pity on him and said she would move things around to get him in. A PA examined him and confirmed that it was a fungal infection. She told him that the steroid he had been prescribed by the ER doctor was the same agent used in the laboratory to culture fungal infections. His infection had started to enter the eardrum, and from there could have spread to his brain and killed him. She gave him a prescription that cleared up the infection very quickly. The wrong diagnoses at urgent care and the ER cost him over $1,500 out of pocket and several days of excruciating pain. The ENTS office did not take his insurance, but charged him only $250 for the correct diagnosis. Not a doctor, but a rural paramedic here. Several years ago had a woman call with feelings of impending doom. No pain, no symptoms, just, I feel like I'm about to die. Vital signs all normal, on-scene exams all normal. But she wanted to go get checked out, so into the ambulance, and away we go. Almost to the hospital, and she starts getting really sweaty, but no other symptoms or vital sign changes. Drop her off, give report, go back in service. A couple hours later we go back to the same hospital. I asked if they ever found anything with the previous patient, and I find out she passed away. CT showed a ruptured aortic aneurysm, and they didn't have enough time to transfer her and didn't have the resources to operate at that facility. The bizarre thing is, ruptured aortas usually have other symptoms such as high heart rate, low blood pressure, dizziness, and lightheadedness, pain. This woman had none of those. I've never seen or heard about a similar case before or since. I'm not a doctor, but I convinced an ex who was positive her pain was just really intense period cramps and a stomach ache to go to the hospital when I tried to cuddle her, and she screamed in pain. I told the nurse I thought it was her appendix because I had my appendix removed when I was a kid and remembered the intense stomach pain. A few hours after the bitchiest, thanks for your opinion, I've ever heard, she was in the ER getting her appendix removed. And that is how I met her parents. Hansen's disease. Saw a patient for the first time to establish care. 52-year-old man from Brazil. He came in with his nephew who was my patient already. He had contractures of the bilateral hands and feet, decreased sensation, and lesions with areas of what appeared to be necrosis. He reported worsening mobility over the past 6 months. He had not had medical care in many years. I saw him, and to me the lesions looked like a vascular issue, and I suggested I would order testing, but planned to send him urgently to a vascular specialist for an opinion. He said he believed it was leprosy. I told him I thought it was not likely and pulled up some photos just to show him how unlikely it was. I hesitated when I saw some photos of milder cases and saw that there was actually a close resemblance. I asked if he had any contacts, and he said no. I decided it was likely overcaution, but I said I would be sending him to a dermatologist as well to ensure we were being thorough. Well, a couple of weeks later, he did in fact get a skin biopsy that was positive for leprosy. To this date, it is one of the rarest and most unlikely diagnoses I have ever seen in 10 years of practice. Medical physicist here. One day went out for drinks with friends. Friend of a friend gets a call and the dude walks out to take it. Comes back a little bit shaken and we ask what's wrong. He says a buddy of his is having a hard time because he adamantly believes something is wrong in his brain. No one takes him seriously. No MRI. No CT, my guess, because those exams are very expensive here. Doctors just prescribe normal medication that isn't working. The one friend who knows what I do looks at me, and I just say, trust your doctor. Guy says that he does, but his friend had been feeling like shit for months and getting desperate. Tells me a little bit more of what's happening. All he wants is an MRI to have some peace of mind. I say, I got you. I have unrestricted access to a state-of-the-art MRI used exclusively for research, but we can have volunteers, usually healthy people, to use as control for our experiments. I pull up the volunteer form on my phone and send it to him. I tell him, have your friend fill this anonymous form and send it to this email. I will schedule a volunteer screening for next week. I am the one who picks volunteers on his favorite food, have him write warm ice cream, so I make sure he is in. There will be more volunteers. In no circumstance he is to let any hint that he knows who I am or why he is there, or he might be discarded as a volunteer by my supervisor. Every MRI is looked over by a specialist just in case, and we contact the volunteer with his MRI and the specialist annotations for them to take to their doctor. If anything is wrong, the specialist will contact him. It happens very rarely, but it happens. That week comes and goes. Sure enough, one of the volunteers had an issue that needed attention, I had no idea of the specifics because of data protection and confidentiality. No idea if it was that dude or not. Next week after my friend calls me, and a friend of a friend of a friend actually had a mass in his brain and was scheduled for surgery that same week. Wild. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep growing and sharing fun and interesting stories from your favorite subreddits. Thanks for watching.